Hey guys. Sorry, I'm trying to fix my tripod. How do I do this, Ira?
What are you trying to do?
I want to move it down because once Reva joins us, it's going to be, once she joins us, we're going to be, see the top, we're only going to be the top half of the screen.
See
So
it.
can you help me? That's better. But will it stay? Hi guys, how's it going?
Hey, what's up?
Good to see y'all. Okay, I'm gonna let Reva in here. So happy to see you guys. Thanks for joining us. Hi Reva.
Oh,
How are you, gorgeous? You look stunning.
Hey.
so do you.
Thank you. So, I'm so happy that so many people are tuning in. And I just kind of want to give a little bit of a background as to who Reva is and who Nechama Comfort is. So Reva is an amazing woman. She is such a light into the world. And I'm so blessed to personally benefit from her positive energy and her knowledge and support. But she founded Nechama Comfort. Nechama in Hebrew literally means comfort. And so this organization is all about helping families through pregnancy loss, infant loss, when you're forced to end a pregnancy because of unhealthy baby or a threat to the mother's life. So it's so important. It's a topic in our culture that unfortunately is still stigmatized. People don't really talk about it. I think it's getting better and better every day, but it's a tough one. And so anyone going through it tends to feel pretty isolated and alone because it's not something, it just happens overnight. One day you're good and the next day your whole life is upside down. And so having a resource like Nechama Comfort to help you through it, help you through that darkness, and to help you feel less alone is so, so important. We wish we knew about it when we were going through our losses, but we're so happy to be able to raise awareness for it now. And also, before we begin, I just want to say that there is a link in my bio on my profile, which is a fundraising page to go. All of the money we raise tonight will go directly to Nechama Comfort so that they can continue providing resources for families that are experiencing pregnancy loss. Their services are completely free, so we want to keep it that way. And so any amount is completely appreciated and welcomed. And with that, I will let Reva introduce herself.
Wow, thank you. The hardest part for me tonight was getting on, so I feel accomplished.
You were doing great. I was having technical issues.
Yeah, I was really nervous the last 20 minutes. I told everyone, stay.
Oh my gosh.
Nobody leave, nobody move. But I actually just showed my husband how to go on, so that was interesting. Yeah, look at that. But I appreciate really the tonight meeting you. It's exactly a year ago. I realized it's a year ago that you came out with your story, and one day, which happens, my phone just kept buzzing and buzzing and buzzing and buzzing. People texting me. My kids who are on Instagram. I have to admit I wasn't on Instagram yet. There's a woman and she's going through this loss. You have to help her. And I think people reached out to you, and within a day, after you really shared your story, it was so helpful. It was so helpful for both you and Ira, and for Nechama Comfort, and for myself as well, for my family as well. The journey for us started 33 years ago. When our firstborn son lived for only 12 hours. And there was nothing. But when I try to, when I do our education awareness programs, there was nothing at all. There were no months. There were no ribbons. There was no pink day, rainbow day, any day. Everybody just went along. If we talked about the Holocaust, it was once a year in school, but only within our Jewish community. Nobody else talked about anything. And you just sort of had to put on a good face and walk through it. And that was difficult. And I realized that was not going to help, and that was not going to work. When my husband and I lost our first baby, we were told, you don't have to go for therapy. Why are you going for therapy? You know why you're thoroughly depressed. Of course, that didn't last, and we did get the help that we needed. And over time, as society was opening up more, realizing that we need to talk about everything, this was also an important topic. But it's really only recently that it's become common, that it's become acceptable for people to talk about infant loss, pregnancy loss. It's not where it should be yet. It's interesting how more and more people talk about it, but people do not know how to react. People will call me. My daughter and son-in-law lost a baby, any stage. You know, we work with families, early miscarriage through the age of 1. And even beyond now, we've really had some more families join us, even a little older, toddlers, because we're all sharing in the same grief and loss. You know, we all know that life begins at conception. Our views, our thoughts on that's personal, but that is the fact. And we are grieving the loss of a child. And we all need to go through this grief process that we know is not linear. We know there's no formula, there's no book. Sometimes we'll get calls, can you send us a book? Can you send us a brochure? Can you send us something? And we really don't, because everybody's journey is individual. And unfortunately, everybody has to go through it. The few things that make it unique, like you said, it's sudden. Many times it's unexpected. Even today's world, medical technology is so advanced up to a point. People can find out, people find out they're pregnant the day before they conceive. Not too long ago, people did not know they were pregnant and definitely didn't talk about it. And could see a heartbeat and know a gender at 12 weeks. So it's, the attachment starting so much sooner. Also, what makes it unique, it's happening to 2 people, the mother, the father, both partners, who are different people, different personalities, and the loss is happening at the exact same time. Even if you're close to your spouse's family, you could have the best relationship with your mother-in-law. God forbid she passes away, it's still your spouse's mom. It's not yours. So that's what makes it unique too. And we're not given the same mourning period. We're not given the same, many doctors treat this, especially if it's an early miscarriage, as a medical situation. You're a doctor. Doctors are trained. This is how they are. And I see this, unfortunately, cancer patients say the same thing. They have to sensitize themselves. We get it. But, sending a couple home and say, okay, next week I could fit into my schedule your D&C is so hard. It's so hard. There's such an emotional piece as well. And nobody knows how to react. And that's why, we started Nechama Comfort for people to have a place to talk about their loss. To really, our goal is choices. We never tell people what to do. We want them to have the choices, and we want them to take this children, and put it into their lives and move through it. And we're not defined with our losses. We don't walk around mourning suits. That's not what people do today's age. We do hide it, which we need to be a little bit more open about, but we are not our losses. Our losses are part of our lives, but they are not a part of who we are. And that's really what's important. And we really want families to understand that we work with all family members, the couples, the grandparents. Grandparents are young now. Um, they're grieving the loss. We, as parents, we live in a world that we want to fix everything immediately. We don't like our kid's teacher. We call the principal. I was a teacher, so I know that, you know, we didn't get into the right college. We're going to do what we need to do. You know, we're going to just fix everything. And we can't fix that. And our families can't fix it. And that what's make it hard too. One more thing, you know, it's interesting since the COVID-19 virus has happened, different professionals, different organizations have reached out to me in the Chama Comfort for advice because they found there were similarities going through this virus that we with infant pregnancy loss experience, which was just eye-opening to me. The suddenness, the unexpectedness. We don't know what to tell our other children. We don't have answers because we don't know the answers. So we've already been, you know, we've spoken in some programs now about resilience and how to be open with our families and how to put the unknown into our lives and to move through it. So, you know, we're all hoping that, you know, soon this will all be over, but I'm part of me is very selfish that maybe people are going to understand more, a little bit about what's going on and people can relate to it. So I think it's great that we're doing this. You know, it still amazes me when people are talking and joining and realizing the importance of it, because we're really helping so many families. Since I spoke to you a few hours ago, when we tried this all out, we've had 3 new cases just in the last 4 hours. So it does.
And when I talked to you then, you were late to the call because you were on the phone with somebody else. So, I mean,
Right.
Today it must be what, 10,
You know,
8? I mean, it's.
yeah. And you know, the more we're known, the more people reach out and the more we can help. And we do have ears and like, you know, to really offer the help that we need. But I know that we talked about, we wanted to concentrate on a few things and anything else that comes up, which would be great. So, you know, I'm so glad that you share your story. I'm glad that I was sitting next to you because we talked about that. You know, the difference that between spouses, between partners going through infant pregnancy loss. When I started doing the support groups, I always said, I'm not getting involved with men and women and dealing with all that. That you'll have to deal with another group. We're just dealing with how everybody's personalities are different and how we can help you through it. And, you know, our support groups were just local in the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey. But because of this new pandemic and Zoom, we're able to do groups all around.
It's amazing. And you'll stick with it, I'm sure, too.
Yeah. We're so happy about that. And the thing that we've been wanting to do for so long, which we were able to do, was a group dedicated to fathers just a few weeks ago before Father. It's interesting. You know, I don't know if Ira wants to share how he feels first before I start telling him how he should feel or didn't feel or represent. And also, you know, we always say you're one person. You're one person that represents a certain type of husband, of spouse. But there's, you know, there's generalities and there's also individual situations.
Right. Yeah. Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so
Reva, somebody said you're blurry. I don't know if you're having an issue with your connection. You're a little blurry. I don't know.
Blurry? I don't know.
We can hear you.
Can you see me?
We could see you. You're just blurry.
Oh, I don't.
No. It may just be like a Wi-Fi. I mean, but we can still see you. So
You can't see me. Go over here. I don't know. Okay, I'll stand up. Maybe that helps. Is that okay?
yeah. Yeah, I think it's a little better.
A little better.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
I don't know, my
so
like,
should we share a little bit of our journey? And
I don't know.
Yeah, that's better.
But that's
yeah,
good.
you look good now. You're
Okay.
clear, baby.
I just got new lights in my dining room, so that's why. I
You
think
look great.
said that I'm blurry. Okay, excellent. Better?
Yes.
Better. Perfect.
Excellent. Good. Okay. Okay. So maybe Ira, you want to share with us a little bit how you felt during the losses and with the new pregnancy and
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was, um, I approached the whole, obviously we had gone through infertility, and we were um, successful quite easily, relatively speaking, with our two girls. So then approaching having a third one, we kind of approached it in a similar manner. And for me, it was kind of like, all right, we'll do this, this, and that, and we'll have a child. Um, and then when things started to not go as planned, I still kind of approached it very just objective and scientific, and say, okay, well, it's bound to happen. This is going to happen, but it's going to work. You just got to get back on the horse and do it. And I kind of, just kind of removed the emotion from it for two reasons, probably. Well, number one, to kind of be optimistic and be strong for Lizzie, because obviously she was understandably going very emotional and hormonal, and there's a lot of things. So for me,
We call it hormotional.
I like that medical term. That's good. Yes.
yeah. So for me, I was always trying to be even keeled, relaxed, and just try to be strong for her and be like, okay, don't worry, like it happens, like we'll be fine, we'll get back on it, we'll do it, and it's gonna be okay. And then I think that the hardest part was probably the last, when we kind of had our last embryo, and it was kind of like, either we're gonna go for it one more time. After this, we don't have any more embryos, and then it was kind of like the last hope of us having another child. And then when she lost that one, it definitely bummed me out, and I couldn't be like, oh, no problem, let's just go through another cycle, because that's a whole beating in and of itself. And I knew that Lizzie was not, ready to take that on. And so that definitely hit me, and I kind of definitely broke down for me. I think it was like New Year's Day, 2019, I think, right? Yeah. So yeah, and then eventually you kind of bottle it up and figure out how to move on, and that's kind of it.
Yeah, it was very interesting for me because I never see Ira really get emotional. It takes a lot. I have to be really crazy for him to even get angry. So, which I do. So, but the third loss really hit him. I mean, he always says he's not a good loser. Like if there's a will, there's a way. He's gonna find a way to get it. And for me, I was just like I had reached a point where I was like, I'm no longer willing to subject it wasn't just me. It was like I was ruined. I lost a year of my life for being a good wife and mother and friend. And, I felt like I lost out on so much time. And I didn't want to be that person anymore, that angry, bitter, sad, depressed person, because that's not who I am. And so it wasn't on the table for me. And I think it was hard for him to know that, that wasn't an option. But of course, he ultimately ended up convincing me to try one more time. Leave it to Ira. He did. I was totally adamant that I was never going down this path again. And then of course, I ended up in the hospital. And I was mad. I was so mad at him because I said, I did this for you. And look at where I am now. And, you're not supposed to say those things in marriage, by the way. But there are all these rules for having a happy marriage. And I think I broke them all. So I'm very lucky that that he pushes me when I need to be pushed, but that he also tolerates my emotional outbursts. And
Well, I think that's like you said, in the rule book of marriage. I think one of the things that also makes it hard is like we all have these ideas of the perfect marriage or perfect life. I taught kindergarten, I said before. So it starts there, you're in the housekeeping area and you're playing house and you're the mom and you're the dad and we're going to have 4 kids. And, depending how old you are, you name the kids after those, popular singers or whatever's going on movies. And that's it. You're going to have 2 boys and 2 girls. And then you're going to grow up and you'll find the perfect mate. Maybe you have to date a little, but, he'll ride on his white horse and that'll be great. And you'll get married and you'll have your kids 2.5 years apart and we'll all live happily ever after. And more time than not, that's not what happens. And I think that's what also makes it so difficult because you sort of have this book or your rule book, like you said, or, when you used to read Bride magazine, when it was actually a hard copy, and this is what's going to happen. So now what? Now what do you do? Because many of the couples this happens to, they're young. A lot of times it's their first. And you're right, the statistics are high when there's a trauma like this, that a marriage isn't going to survive. And exactly.
I just got a message right before this that about a woman whose marriage fell apart because of it. I mean, it happens more than we know.
Yeah. And if you don't have, something strong and you don't have something there to work on, that's what happens. I can look, one of the things that I bring to this is that I've been married for a while, so I could see what worked and what didn't work. And I think that it's typical that usually it's the man trying to be the strong one. Sometimes it's not. I really find couples more and more, because they're so open, that it's the other way. But when somebody's trying to be strong, somebody wants to try again, and usually it's the man, because really it's easy. Or, you're not going to those doctors.
They get to do the fun part.
Exactly. And you don't have those hormones that are raging and everything else that's coming on. And you want to be nice and you want to be good and you want to be helpful. But then, who do you lean on? Did you have anybody you could talk to about this when you were going through it? Ira?
I mean, there are always people. I mean, obviously my family and some friends, but I don't really open up about most emotional things.
I'll tell you though, as the journey went on, he did become more and more open. And this past time, I feel like you were super open with your parents and what we were going through. And that was new. I mean, that was, this was not something that he ever spoke about. And it became, there's always good things that come from the bad times. And that's definitely one of them.
I think it's important. We talked about making sure that Ira was going to be on tonight, because it's so important to show how that it's two people going through this loss, and that even though you need to be there for each other, you need to have other people to lean on too. And that's one of the things we do in the Chama Comfort as well, sure. Because and that's why we also train therapists and doctors and cleargy and other family members, because
I was going to say, and grandparents and husbands need training too.
Yeah, the grandparents, they're suffering because they're watching their kids suffer, and they're also grieving the loss of a grandchild. And we don't know what's going to be. And, we have our list of do's and don'ts on our website that are actual lines that people say and continue to say. Oh, you have other children. Why do you need to have more children? Oh, it'll be okay. it's God's will. You have great, whatever they're saying. And we really just tell people, don't say anything. Just listen. You can't fix it. But it's hard for each other. It's hard when you're both going through this because you're both grieving. And I tell the couple, and I tell, usually the woman after a loss at any stage, but usually before they're showing, because it's harder. Some people don't even know you're pregnant. You can't go back to work the next day. You have to take some time off. If it was any other person, God forbid, an older child, a parent, uh, a sibling, you get bereavement time. And you have to take that time. Before the COVID, I used to tell, what if you got the flu? Now I don't like to say that anymore, but what
Right.
if you're sick? We all take sick days. We all pretend we're sick and we run to the beach. We all do things, and we're all so afraid to do things for ourselves.
Right.
Want to look selfish, or we don't like, but it's so important to take that time.
And people are so scared to say why they're taking the time.
Right.
That's a whole nother issue too, is they don't want to have to explain it.
And, if I hadn't become so emotional and open, I would say it's never too late, which I'm telling people now too. When we talk, sometimes when we give programs in communities, people will come over to me that lost a baby 40, 50 years ago, and they never they never took time to grieve. Or when their child loses a baby, we find out the grandparents also lost a baby, never took that time to grieve. And that's what's important. It's important for both of you, for both partners, to grieve this child. And that doesn't mean, we talked about, you're not defined by your grief. You're not defined by, you can be happy in the morning and then be sad in the afternoon. That's okay. And we tell people that you're never going to forget your loss. That's why we try to work with couples individually, how to put it into their lives. Something concrete, like a piece of jewelry, lighting a candle, having a remembrance, or whatever you need for that. And that's very individualized. But it's also important to embrace the good times. That's okay too. And to and to give yourself separate time and together time. That's important. Um, and I think that's only going to help you be a better parent, and that's only going to help you be a better spouse. Um, Nowadays, which I'm really glad to hear, people are expressing and talking about their losses much more. We talked about in front of your other children what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also really important, besides your, speaking
Definitely.
to each other and being together and speaking to your children together, again, individually, depending on their ages, depending what belief system you have in your life, that's going
Right.
to be better.
And that's something that we talked about earlier today that I really feel strongly about, was that we were very open and honest with our girls this past time. We told them, I said, Mommy's gonna take some medicine to try to get pregnant again. They knew that I had experienced my losses. We weren't able to really explain it in detail at the time because of their age, but now they were at the point where we were much more open. And I was saying to you, I can't imagine going through that stress and all of the PTSD and trigger points of
Right.
going through the infertility process again for me, and having to hide that from my kids, because I'm with my girls, 24/7. So to have to pretend like I'm not going through something really hard I don't think I could take on that stress. And they were so much more receptive than I thought they would be. Like, our children have much higher emotional capacities and abilities to understand than we give them credit for. And they got it, and they were supportive. And, Stella would say to me, Mommy, you crazy because of those meds? She knew what was going on. And,
Right.
That was our choice. I'm not saying it's right for everyone, but I think that it definitely helped me through it. And they knew when I was in the hospital, and I think just having that transparency was really healthy for us as a family.
Yeah, it's so important. And I'm glad to see that more and more families are agreeing about that. Kids live in this world. They're in school.
We've seen with COVID how aware they are of everything with the change,
Yeah. And even before that, they know the story of Noah, and there was a flood and the world was destroyed. Okay.
Right.
And any movie, it's scary. And I got the movies my parents took me to, those were, we saw Jaws when we were 10,
Right.
So our kids can do it, and our kids are also very black and white. They look for something, and that's why it's so.
Uh-oh, she froze.
To work with them. How's that gonna help, when your kids get older, how to put it into their lives as well. And we always made sure, I told we our son is buried in Reading, Pennsylvania, which is another story for another time. It used to be outlet capital of America. And I said we would go in August, not on Passover when he died. And we would go to the cemetery. We would, talk to him, say something that happened, like Thanksgiving, what did everybody do this year? And go shopping and go for ice cream at Friendly's, because that's what we do. And I can say that my kids got older now, and that's okay. They put it into their lives. They've gone on to get married and have their own children. And I think that it was so important. I just saw one of my daughters just wrote.
That's so sweet. I love that. Your daughter appreciates you being open.
Yeah. And people will say, because, couples come and they go like, when will I get over this? Will I ever get through it? And that's why it was so important to connect with the two of you, because you are going through it. And I know that one of the questions that comes up that we talk about, how do you balance the excitement of your pregnancy with your fertility journey? How can you do both? How can we be happy and sad at the same time? And I think that is, that's so important. We talked about this privately a lot, because one of the things we try to get out, and I really, when I spoke about resilience now in terms of COVID, we can't judge anybody. We can't judge anybody, and we have to be respectful, because you don't know what's going on. And on the other side, the way we talk to couples and we counsel them as support groups and individually is on their own personal journey. Everybody calls me, and it doesn't matter where you live, who you are, that I just lost a baby and my sister's going to give birth tomorrow. Or I can't believe the princess is in People magazine having a baby. It might not even be your family. It's everybody. It's everywhere. I get calls. I just saw a pregnant woman crossing the street and I want to run her down. Thank God nobody's ever done that, which we're glad to say. But we all want to do that. But what we try to tell people is then you have to learn to shut off your television, shut off your Instagram. Don't go to your family celebrations if your sister's going to be pregnant. And nowadays, a lot of our couples told us because of COVID, there were no holiday celebrations. There were no having to go to weddings. It was sort of, they were happy about it. And that's okay. So I say, pretend, before COVID, that's what I used to say. What if you got sick? What if you lived in an age when you couldn't just get on a plane and fly? So everybody has to take care of themselves, but we have to be able to celebrate good times too, because any loss, if God forbid your father passes away and you still have a mother, then you're not going to lock yourselves up and not talk about anything that went on, and that he was there, and we need to be able to celebrate are good times too. Um,
Right.
I think that you become sensitive, as I know the two of you have. You become extra sensitive to people and things. So maybe you're not gonna um, post uh, all the time. This one's baby, that one's baby, that one's, but you're sensitive because you want to show how your journey, how you went through your journey and how you've put it into your lives.
Right.
And that's so important.
Right. I think, it has been a very hard balance to find. That's been my biggest struggle with sharing this pregnancy was I didn't want to hurt anyone. But, I really crossed this bridge where I decided I wanted to celebrate my pregnancy because for me, it is the biggest blessing that I've ever had that I don't take for granted for 1 second. I'm so incredibly grateful. And I want to be able to be public about that. I'm a public person. I share everything. So, of course, I want to be able to share this. And, I was hopeful that I would provide that sense of hope for people who were in a painful place like we were. But I know firsthand situations were super triggering for me. My sister-in-law, Ira's sister, got pregnant with her fourth before I was pregnant with my first when I was going through infertility, and having to be around her was hard for me. And I wasn't mad at her at all, but it was triggering, and it made me upset, and it was irrational, and I didn't blame her, but it was hard for me. And so I said to my followers, I said, if you need to mute me or unfollow me, I'm going to be sharing my pregnancy. I am doing this, and I totally understand if it hurts you to look at it. I've been there, and I support you in taking a break from me. But we have tried to be empathetic, and our pain is always a part of us. We haven't graduated from the journey. It is still every day we wake up different because of all of the loss that we've experienced. Better off for it in some ways, but it changes you, and you don't ever change back. And I think, like you said, you could be happy and sad at the same time. And Ira still has trouble even really, like, I'll let him talk about it a little bit. He has trouble celebrating where we are now. I for some reason, maybe it's the hormones, but I am totally like in a positive headspace for now. I made a decision. I did early on. I was like, I can wake up every day and be anxious and be a nervous wreck, or I can be grateful for where I am. And I had this, it was around Pesach, and I was like, you know what, Dianu, I'm pregnant today. There's a life growing in me today, and I'm grateful for that. I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, but I'm grateful for today, and I'm going to enjoy it, and I'm going to try to make a positive impact with it. But Ira has had trouble with that. So
Yeah, I mean, I have a guard up for sure. And, I definitely think about, what could go wrong, and, something could be wrong with the baby. I mean, the reality is we never stop worrying about our kids. So
you're never in the clear.
You're never in the clear.
Right. Right.
But,
I think also when you come from the medical world, it's like too much.
Yeah, you do. Right.
So,
right.
I think it'll be a relief, God willing, when the baby comes out and the baby's healthy.
Right.
But it's definitely have a guard up in general.
He's like, he comes and he looks at me, he's like, I can't believe you're pregnant, because I'm living with the pregnancy every day. So I feel it. I feel the baby kicking. I felt sick for 4 months, so I can't be in denial about it, but it's easier for him. So.
I think, and then also, I think you've experienced looking at her, seeing what happened, seeing what's going on. So you're going to be, I think you're both excited and you're both anxious, because that's really how everybody feels. But because of your personalities and who you are, that's how you're expressing it. You do this, every day. This is your life, to be out there talking about everything. So you're able to express everything that way. And I was more, you've been busy with work and in the hospital and what's going on. So you sort of haven't let yourself think about it as much. And I think that's why. I think letting yourself think about it more, I don't know if it's going to change you because you are who you are. People tell me that either you could become very overprotective of your children if you go through a loss, or you have more of an attitude like, the worst has happened to me, so I'm going to protect them. I'm going to do everything, but okay.
Would you say you're the second one?
I am. Can you tell that? I am the second one. I was, it's interesting. Birthdays are very important to me. I guess also I was a kindergarten teacher, so I have the whole birthday song routine. But even my nephews and my nieces and my 49-year-old brother and my parents, I sing the birthday song. Birthdays are like, we get up and there's balloons and there's cakes and my kids' birthday parties were not extravagant in terms of lavish. Okay, I did have 2 ponies in the back of my suburban house for my twins. But birthday parties were always really important because I got it. I got what life is. When I go to a bris of a friend's child, especially on Zoom, you see everybody cry. And I have the biggest smile because a cry of a baby having a bris is amazing to me, is the most wonderful thing. And that's okay. And I think that I am more laid back because of it. And people would say, how did you go? We also had 6 miscarriages with my 4 healthy children. So besides my son passing away from a heart, we didn't know because medical technology was not so advanced, and you didn't even know you're pregnant. There were so many other aspects to it. But I had no trouble getting pregnant. So it's interesting that we were able to keep trying. I don't know. I say maybe because we didn't have a support group, so we just kept doing it, or I don't know. That's the truth. Maybe it's our personalities, and my husband's a different personality, but we both wanted these children, and we kept trying. What was interesting was when my 2 children, I have 5 grandchildren, and when my children were having children, my oldest granddaughter was born, I went into the delivery room with my daughter, and I started to have an anxiety attack. And now when my children are pregnant, I'm nervous about it. I don't.
Oh, that's interesting.
I did tell them because we're on, but I'm anxious. And the day after the babies are born, I could feel myself
Relax.
That's so relaxed, just like giving myself free because I've been holding it in because I don't want them to think. But I guess also because I'm doing this more, I'm talking to more couples like you, Ira. You're in the house, what could
You're
go.
in that world. You see the worst.
Right. And I think that's what, but it's sort of, you have to put it into your life. And I think what really helps, exactly what you're doing and what we tell people is to put your babies that are not with you into your lives, which you've done, to celebrate your children, to celebrate your pregnancies, and to have that balance. That is really, because it's never going to go away. People call me and they'll say, I'm afraid to let go a little bit of my sadness because I'm going to forget. You are never going to forget. My miscarriages were different because, not like my son who we named, and I have pictures and things. But I could tell you what was happening on the news. I could tell you what time of year it was. I could tell you which of my friends' children. I could look at other children and tell you they were born around the time I lost my baby when I should have. And that's years ago. So you're never going to forget.
Right.
But it's so important though to recognize it and to be supportive of your friends and your family, and each other. And really,
One of the things, Reva, that you said to me that really resonated was anyone who has ever been pregnant, even if it was for a day, is a mother. You are always a mother to those souls. And,
Right.
you know, we light an extra candle for our babies, for our souls that we lost. And Juliet says to me every Shabbos, that's for the babies that we lost. She knows. And, you know,
Right.
that they're always a part of us. We think about them, you know, and like you said, it's not always with sadness. It's just, you know, for whatever reason, we were meant to be the vessel for them for as short or long of a time as we were.
Right. You know, we put it, you know, we also, I light a candle for all of my babies. And, you know, with my husband, he didn't talk about, we talked about it, but we really weren't allowed to talk about it in society like now. So it wasn't to my youngest, I have three girls, and my youngest is a son, and it was his bar mitzvah. He's now 22. When my husband got up to speak, and I'm really the more of the speaker, obviously, and I thought he would just get up the usual. And he started to talk about our other son and about the similar, and I've said, really? Now you decided to break down? You know, I got the DJ, I got the food, I got the abacus. Now all of
You
our
can't
friends,
control it.
and it was the most beautiful event that he spoke. There wasn't a dry eye. And these my son and his friends, 12 and 13 years old, were sitting there, and we had it was exactly what it is. We had these moment, and then we had the party. And what's interesting to me now is when my kids' friends, you know, I always told them, when I had a client for Nechama Comfort, I made sure that they understood I had to go out for a support group. I remember when my son was in high school with all the teams and carpools. And I remember him once saying, well, my mom can't drive Tuesday nights. You know, she does that group for those people that lose babies. And I said, yes.
It's good. It makes them compassionate. They know that there are people, they're aware.
It's hard. You know, when I get a call from somebody and the call is, hi, Mo or Reva, and I know it's somebody I taught or it's one of my kids' friends, but that's what it's about, that it's really, you know, and we even, you know, we get, people want to know, when am I going to be okay? And I think looking at the two of you, looking at us, looking at the Chama Comfort, you're going to be okay. Sometimes, you know, I think I told you this story. Sometimes we put, you know, in our lives, he's sort of become our guardian angel, you know, to the point that,
He's
you know,
your favorite son, right?
I do. People would say, my kids say, who's your favorite? And I say that. Or we'll be like, when there was a time not so long ago, we went to malls and they were open and it was the Nordstrom sale and there was no parking space. And I got the parking space and I'd say, oh, everyone, let's say thank you to Pesach. He knows and people would look at me, but then it was so much a part of our lives then, you know, as much as any medical information that you can get, and people can get more, why it happened. Unfortunately, still 50% of pregnancy loss, they don't know. But that's still not going to answer the why, and we don't know that answer. Nobody ever know, you know. When I get up there at 120, I'm going to have notebooks with me because I have lists of everybody that I've ever spoken to. And I think that knowing that you're not going to answer that question, but looking and being a support system that you're going to get through it. You know, I've said that everybody joins the club that they never wanted to be a member, but you're a lifelong member. So we also, you know, I know, for example, I don't even have to, when you announced that you were expected, I had an inkling because we hadn't spoken, and it was interesting because you had told me before other people. So like, I usually find out before anybody. And I remember my friends and my kids that follow you, they're like, oh, did you hear? And they all said, oh, you heard already. You know, always tell me that, my friend. And I'm very, you know, everything's confidential. It really, really is to everybody. But what's amazing is that you can, you know, but I was hesitant. I wanted you to see if you were going to reach out to me to continue, because we had this amazing relationship that we started, and we
Right.
you at our dinner, and you know, we made you ambassadors or whatever every day the role changes. And how are you going to react? And what's really, you know, special to us and I think for the world to see is that that even though you've had these losses and you're so excited about these pregnancies, you're there. We're all there to help people and to understand. And it's great that Ira's been on, because I think um, it may not be, you don't want to be actually in the limelight or anything, but it helps. It helps people to see that, wow, just to hear the stories. And I have to tell you, more men are calling me. More men are opening up, and we're telling men to talk about it. There, some of the hospitals have support groups as well.
Right.
Difference is they're shorter support groups. We focus on a lot of different issues. But somebody in New Jersey called me up a few years ago, and she goes, I got a men's group together. I said, how'd you do that? She goes, we're meeting at the local bar. I don't know why I didn't
Genius, by the way.
the sports bar. I don't know what
Genius.
to think about this. And I said, yeah, so that's another thing that we could all talk about it. And what amazes me in the support groups is that it doesn't matter, we have people from all realms of life, and men and people are talking there. Nobody could care less. After 1 minute, we're all there sharing just the grief and loss, and people talk about things.
Yeah, this is a different kind of common ground. When you've suffered what we've suffered, you don't judge anyone. You're willing to embrace and love anyone that's feeling this pain. I said I would help my worst enemy go through this, because nobody deserves to feel alone through this, and I think most people feel that way.
Yeah,
And and it's a beautiful thing that Nahama Comfort does by bringing all these people together without judgment. And there's no protocol. If you are hurting and you are suffering, you're there and
right,
tell.
right. And at any time, sometimes people call us right away, and we help with the arrangements. All over. We have contacts now all over the world. We're really Australia, Russia. There's no differences, and we help people from sometimes before they know about the loss, and then some people call us, a few months later, even a few years later.
Right.
And we are there.
Right. No, thank God. Thank you. We're so grateful for the relationship that we have with you, and just to spread the word, because we want people to know that you exist. And more people every day come forward to me to tell me that they've gone through similar things. They say, don't tell anyone, don't post my message, and they feel isolated and alone. And so for them to just know that there is a resource out there, and maybe they save your number and they don't call for a few months, but to just know that there is someone that cares and that they're not alone in those dark hours is so important.
And I see a couple of people writing, I wish I knew you when it happened. It's never too late. It's never too late to get involved, to share your story, to help.
You can help somebody else with your
pain.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people say, I want to help. And we talk about it, and we help them, at any stage. And that's what's important. And Nahama Comfort so appreciates you being involved, and to continue to be involved, and to help us, share your journey and share our message as well.
Anything you need, you just call.
Okay. We know that, and we really want to, we're sort of starting a new time in the Nahama Comfort. We're branching out. We're using all these, brandings, and because of Zoom, and because of that, even before this happened, we were actually I was talking in many places and reaching out to many families all over. Nahama again means comfort. We are open to everybody and anybody. The number is easy, 1-833-NAHAMA. And you could just Google Nahama Comfort, and things are so easy to find us now.
Amazing.
We have our hotline, and I really don't sleep that much either. So we really try to.
Reva's available for you 24/7. If you wake up in a cold sweat at 2 a.m., you call Reva.
That's call me. We're up. My husband's up.
She's probably up cooking for Shabbos.
No, think that. You would think that. In between everything else, yeah, that we could do multitasking. We are definitely
Right.
but we are, I stopped teaching and dedicating. We're dedicating. I have, like you said, it's all volunteers. I have 3 amazing volunteers that's been with me for a long time. 2 people that have just joined to help, clients that have helped to give back, and we are now creating this space, and we really want to be able to help as many people as we can. And as you said, we never charge a client, ever. We're there to help however we can help you. And of course, it was always hard for me to realize. I never understood. I thought nonprofit means you can't raise money. That's what I always thought, especially growing up as
You have to function.
yeah. But I grew up as a rabbi's daughter in a
Right.
just to the communities like every other clergy, and so that we went through a whole training program, and we went through an accelerated incubator. We really learned all about business and everything that we need to know, and know that we need, of course, any donation we're so grateful for and thankful for, to help us to continue to do all of our programming, and to move forward. We never move forward. We're always moving through. That's what we say in Nechama Comfort, and putting it into your lives. And we hope everybody will reach out to get the choices that they need. And
I love that.
I am, and thank you. And I know this is, we've had this relationship for a year now. We were able to get our dinner in December, right before everything happened, and we've become very good friends. Also, our families, all of our Jewish geography connections as well, as we know, and that's really what it's about. Finding your new friends and finding your new support system. Community for this is so important, and being there when it's not good, and being there to celebrate as well, which is so important. So thank you.
Thank you, Reva. And I just want to remind everyone that there's a link in my bio to donate to help Nechama Comfort with their resources. Like Reva said, they never charge anyone that comes for support and help. So, we want to help them be able to keep doing that. And so the link is going to be in my bio for the next day. And Reva is here for you 24/7. I'm also here to support and answer any questions that you guys have. And I'm just so thankful. Thank you for doing this with us so that we can continue to raise awareness and destigmatize pregnancy loss and support each other.
Yeah, thank you, Ira.
Oh, my pleasure.
Special thanks. And thank you for helping me with getting on Instagram.
Oh my God, amazing. Now you're like golden. I love it.
Yeah, now I have to just figure out how to save the Insta Live and whatever.
I'll help you. We'll talk after.
We gotta figure that all out. I actually bought these earrings online, which I was banned from online shopping.
They look great.
But really, thank you. And this is the beginning. This is really the beginning of.
I'm excited to see the next chapter, what you guys are going to do. I know it's going to be amazing.
We're all excited.
What we're going to do.
Yes, together. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And we look forward to everybody out there also being in touch. All right. Have a great night.
Good night, guys. Good night, Reva. Good night, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. How do I do this?